Hello and welcome to New Central Television. I am Lekan, Onabanjo. The top stories at this hour. Christians in Nigeria celebrate Easter amidst the country's hardship and economic conditions. International airfares dip as foreign airlines unlock budget-friendly tickets in Nigeria. South Africa's power utility, Eskom, suspends load shedding until further notice. Details to come your way shortly. Let's begin by telling you that President Bola Tinubu has felicitated Christians in Nigeria and around the world as they celebrate the Easter season. Easter is an event that commemorates the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. It also symbolizes Christ's victory over sin and death. To mark the day, President Tinubu, in a statement, called on Christians to imbibe the virtues of love, sacrifice, and compassion associated with the season. Since assuming office in May, President Tinubu's administration has embarked on several policies that have had an effect on the masses and the economy. In his Easter message, the president hailed the resilience and sacrifices of Nigerians, saying it is necessary for economic recovery. And as Nigerians mark Easter Sunday, the joyous occasion comes amidst prevailing economic challenges gripping the nation. Despite facing hardships worsened by inflation, unemployment, and dwindling purchasing power, citizens across the country are embracing the spirit of love, hope, and renewal that accompanies the resurrection of Jesus Christ. In various communities, churches are adorned with vibrant decorations as worshippers gather to commemorate the resurrection of Jesus and reflect on the significance of Easter season. However, the economic realities cast a shadow over the festivities, with families grappling with rising costs of living and limited access to basic necessities. The recent surge in food prices has added strain to already burdened households, prompting calls for urgent interventions to alleviate the plight of the people. Meanwhile, Nigerians are resilient, embracing the spirit of Easter despite the challenges, emphasizing the values of love, compassion, and solidarity. Joining me to give us an update on the Easter Sunday celebration in the Federal Capital Territory is our news correspondent, Amadin Uyi. Amadin, happy Easter celebration to you.
To you, Lekan.
All right, so in some parishes, we noticed that turnouts of Christians celebrating Easter was low, while in others it is pretty encouraging. So tell us, how is it where you are?
Now, I'm at the Family Worship Center in Wuye, Abuja. Is a very large church, and from what we have seen on ground, the turnout today has been relatively high. In fact, this is the second service, and if you look behind, though it's a bit dark because there's a playlet ongoing, you see that the church is filled to the brim. Yeah, despite the hardships, many Christians have still trooped out en masse to mark the Easter celebration.
Well, what would you say Christian faithful are mostly concerned about right now? Of course, it's the Easter season and their challenges with finances and all, but then what do you think is most pertinent for them as they celebrate?
For a lot of them we spoke to earlier on, they are bothered about the rising inflation and the high cost of goods and services. Many of them say they are struggling to feed their family and to cope with the current economic realities. But they say that they will not let it dampen their Easter celebration, because Easter is key among Christians. It's the celebration of the third day, the risen Christ. So many of them say they have trooped out en masse to church to say their prayers, to join friends and colleagues and other Christian faithful to mark the Easter celebration. But they are still insisting that though the economic situation in the country has been very difficult, they will continue to trudge on.
Amadinu, thank you so much. We'll get back to you probably later on. We appreciate your contribution anyway. Let's also, at this point, join Chinwe Ogele, our correspondent in Abia State, and she will be also giving us updates on the celebration. Chinwe, happy Easter to you.
I wish the same.
So tell us, how is it panning out in the state right there, Abia, as we believe that Christians are celebrating the crucifixion of Jesus Christ?
Well, it's the normal thing on such a day as Easter. People had gone to churches, different denominations as it were. Some churches have actually had up to 3 services or masses, depending on which denomination you belong to. And the central message from all the priests is for people to learn to live the life that Christ lived while he was on earth, is a message of sacrifice, is a message of forgiveness, is a message of resilience, telling people not to despair in the face of tribulations. It's a joyous and, a very happy mood amongst the Christians in Omaha here.
Okay, so for this particular celebration, what do you think that of course, it's different from what has been said in terms of the preaching, from what the Christians would exude in terms of their mien. What do you think they are also saying at this time? Are they going to also imbibe whatever it is has been spoken to them by their pastors or their priests, or do you think they have a different outlook to what the situation is like as we celebrate, but then in a country where the economic situation is not that encouraging?
In one of the services, the Methodist Bishop of Umuahia, Wesley Cathedral, Right Reverend Ikechukwu Emetu Nkulo, did, talk about governance, in his message. He talked about all the policies that the government have that are not good for the people, all that, the government has been doing to the masses, which have been telling on them negatively, and then called on them to, change their approach to governance. But the people themselves basically are looking up to, the significance of this day, which is the resurrection of Christ from death. Like they are living out their sins and taking up a new, lifestyle. You know how it is with Christians or with human beings every new year. So that is how Easter is for Christians here. They believe that Christ died and today he rose from the dead. So that way their sins had been cleansed. So it's like a new beginning for them from today being Easter Sunday. So their mood and their reaction to Easter is that let them begin to do that which is right, having known that Jesus Christ, died for their sins.
Chinwe, thank you so much for talking to us. I hope that you enjoy your Easter celebration. We now join Omolola Ololade, who is in Lagos right here, and she will be giving us updates too. Omolola, tell us where precisely you are in Lagos and what the mood is like.
Thank you very much, Lekan. I'm here at, St. Leo's Church here in the Ikeja area of Lagos. And it's, it's a good one. They're in a celebratory mode. But for most Christian faithfuls here in Catholic Church, they say that, it's a time to reflect. It's a sober reflection for them because as Catholics, they prefer to remember God solemnly, especially for what had happened. Particularly, because when I got here, this is the second mass that is going on now. The first mass started at about 7 a.m. and ended at 9. And shortly afterwards, the second mass started, which of course still ongoing now. And for them, they said Easter means a lot to them because, it concludes the Lent period of 40 days. And now it's a time to reflect, to celebrate what the old period has been about, which is, of course, the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Well, we know that Nigerians are undoubtedly going through tough times. Are they hopeful that things will eventually get better soon? Omolola, can you hear me? Okay, I guess we just lost connection with Omolola there, but then it's nice to know that Nigerians, despite the situation in the country, are still finding a way to celebrate. Finally, we get to join Chizoba who will also be sharing details with us as regards the Easter celebration where she is. Chizoba, it's nice to have you around. Happy Easter Sunday to you. How is it like where you are?
Happy Easter to you. Good afternoon. Well, it is all good. Can you hear me?
Of course. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So it's been a cool and calm Easter Sunday in Jos, the Plateau State capital, of course, from North Central Nigeria. Everywhere is peaceful. Everyone is going about their normal businesses. I just came back from church, actually, and it was a nice service, actually. People came out in their numbers to at least say thank God for another Easter celebration.
So we know what has happened in Jos in the last few months and the issues around safety and fightings and, of course, attack by bandits. How do you think citizens in Jos and, by extension, Plateau State are taking it in their stride? What is the comfort for them during this Easter period with all the issues that have had to deal with in the last few months?
Well, you're not far from the truth. It's actually not longer news that Plateau had been on the news for some time now on the bad side of it, because we've been having some hitches here and there, pockets of attacks in some villages, actually, not everywhere. But for the fact that lives are taken, you won't say it is insignificant because of the number of areas that have been affected. But all the same, security agencies on the Plateau have been on top of the situation. That's the truth. And that is why today everyone is freely moving about everywhere. And the police state command had also issued a statement, just like they always do, to say that everything is under control. People should go about their normal businesses. They are on the lookout for anybody or any group that may want to cause any kind of tension. But by and large, it's been a peaceful Plateau.
Chizoba, thank you so much. I hope that you enjoy your Easter celebration.
Sure, same here.
Okay, moving on now. The Nigerian citizens are probably the toughest in the world, given all they deal with and still keep their cool. The steady rise in the cost of foodstuff for months now has elicited reactions from the traders and end users. Some food items have, since December 2023, increased 5 times. News Central's Chinwe Ogene did a market survey in Umuahia on the current costs of food items and now reports.
Nigerian markets are filled with homegrown grains, fruits and vegetables, yet the people struggle to afford the food items due to the high costs.
So
it's very, very disheartening, especially for people with a large family. So you have to adjust and readjust. And at the end of the day, you will not really buy much.
Before 500, Uba was 1,002. Leno, Giano Nguba, Giana. Before 400, but Uba was 1,000.
You buy market, the market after selling it, you see add another money again, almost times 2. And buy another thing.
Musa, who sells onions at Obani Market in Umuahia, says there are other factors that cause the high costs.
It's not a matter of government. This one is a matter of God.
Okay.
You understand? Because right from the harvest, the time rain was coming, and that period, the rain didn't reach the time we were supposed to harvest it.
Some of the traders are of the view that although 2024 is harsh, it is still better than 2023.
A bag of cabbage was 45,000-50,000. Now this 7, 8,000.
There have been reduction in every other thing except foodstuff.
From a survey conducted recently on select food items, it was discovered that only fresh tomatoes, onions, and a few other vegetables reduced in costs when compared between 2023 and March 2024. According to some people, the unstable nature of the naira is the reason for the astronomical increase in the cost of foodstuff, while others simply do not know how foreign exchange affects the costs of locally produced foods.
Most of the things that are not even supposed to be that expensive, you find them being expensive. Things like gari that are produced locally here.
To feed a family of 6 in Nigeria in a moderate lunch meal these days will gulp at least 8,000 naira. This is just one meal provided by probably someone who doesn't earn more than 50,000 naira in a month, and is also expected to perform some financial obligations and duties in the home. The government can actually make life easier for the masses if it regulates the activities of the middlemen who market these produce, put security situation in place, and also make policies that will benefit the masses in general. In Omaha News Central, Chinwe Ugeli.
Central now, a break will do here. When we return, we'll bring you more stories. Don't go away. Many thanks for staying with us. To some Nigerian aviation news now. Foreign airlines operating in Nigeria are shaking up the market by unblocking their low-priced fares in Nigerian routes. This comes as the Central Bank of Nigeria announced the completion of a hefty $7 billion backlog payment, which includes over $700 million in unremitted ticket revenue. Just 2 weeks ago, the central bank disclosed the clearing of this substantial debt, which encompasses various foreign exchange obligations, including FX forward contracts. The International Air Transport Association, representing these foreign carriers, has yet to verify the clearance of the entire $700 million. However, reports indicate that the unblocking of low-price tickets has already commenced. This move comes after over 2 years of foreign carriers withholding their low-price tickets on Nigerian routes, following the entrapment of the ticket revenue totaling hundreds of millions of dollars within Nigeria. At this point, joining me to discuss this further is the General Secretary, Aviation Safety Initiative, Olumide Onwayo. Thank you so much, Olumide Onwayo, for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
So it's been said that the reason for the reduction in airfares is as a result of the CBN clearing a $7 billion backlog payment, which also included about $700 million in unremitted ticket revenue. What do you make of this?
Well, I think I would rather attribute the opening of the lower windows on their ticket buckets to the presence of a Nigerian carrier on international for the first time in a long time, and that's Air Peace, who have started the Lagos-London route. And that has brought about the reduction in ticket fare generally, both for direct flights and to a third country. And the other one would be the naira value that rather than going up astronomically as it was before, it's been going down steadily, and there's been a little balance in the value of the naira. You can predict what it's going to look like in the next 2 weeks because of the steady growth of the naira now to the dollar, and that has brought some stability and not speculation that we had before. If you notice before, there was just spiral increase that was almost a daily basis, and nobody knew when it was going to stop. I think those two factors contribute to that fare dropping rather than the funds released by central bank. Because for the airlines, most of those foreign airlines still have those funds trapped in their bank account, not in the central bank, in their bank account, and are yet to remit it. And they're not remitting now because they do not see how tickets that were sold to them, they sold at 480 naira to a dollar, they will not have to remit at the rate of 1,200, which is the present 1,200, which is the present rate. So I think that's what, like I said, those two factors, the Air Peace joining the international flight route as a Nigerian carrier, and the stability of the naira now to the dollar, those two factors contributed to that, rather than that release of funds by Central Bank of Nigeria.
So for the issue around the appreciation and stability of the Naira, how sustainable do you think that would be, looking at the efforts of the CBN so far in that regards? And on the part of the airlines, do you think they'll be able to maintain these lower fares in the long run?
Well, I think the international communities begin to have confidence in the ability of the Central Bank of Nigeria to stable the Naira against the dollar. And I think what has happened in the last 3-4 weeks has shown that the CBN is now in control. It was crazy at the beginning of the year from around December, and when we saw the movement, and at the stage was almost approaching 2,000 Naira. But now it has kept coming down, and that coming down shows that again, if you get to an equilibrium. Before it was not predictable, and they had to pick the highest bar. That's why those fares were high. Now we must also not undermine the significance of having a Nigerian carrier on the international route. Immediately Airpeace announced that they were going to start the Lagos-London route and brought out their fares. It generally affected fares on all routes. Lagos-London is the prime route for Nigerians, right? So immediately another fare, the two direct airlines, the British Airways and Virgin Atlantic, responded. And as they responded, the other airlines who are the like third country airlines that carry Nigerians to London, Qatar, Lufthansa, KLM, Air France, also responded. So there's a beauty of us getting our airlines to participate, to reciprocate that clause in the bilateral services agreements. And I think that is what we should try and achieve if we really want to bring down the fares of international affairs, rather than just look at Naira stability. We must be able to participate. We want to be able to throw capacity into that market.
Okay, so that brings me to this question. Do you think this will be pivotal for other domestic airlines to assume this international status in the aviation sector? And what do you think can be done, either from the private or the government side, to improve on supporting these local airlines to also begin to try navigating international routes?
But I think the government just need to get the economy back on the stream. They need to strengthen the economy. They need to strengthen the Naira. They also need to improve security. When you do all this, you attract investors. You attract international partners. You attract those who will be interested in investing. The market is there. We have the population. All we need is just grow the economy, to grow the economy and grow the industry. The industry is ready to grow, but this factor, the stability of the Naira, the stability of the economy and security need to be addressed squarely. While doing that, those in charge of the infrastructure at the airport also need to work on all the facilities. And I'm happily, Aviation is part of those projects that have been listed in the Renewed Hope infrastructure project. So I see something good coming for the industry. Rather than just giving the airlines money, we've gone past that stage. But we started in the past, we just won't get to waste. Do the right thing, put the structures in place, put the systems in place, and see how the investment will rise. But in all of this, our priority now should be how to get the Nigerian airlines to fly, to get more airlines certified, to get more aircraft into the country, to throw more capacity into the international market, and then you see that everybody will smile. And in doing that, the government needs to work on the charges and taxes in place. They're a bit on the high side, and that's also discouraging travel and making the fares very high.
Okay, so quickly to wrap things up, Olumide, now for looking at the prices now, what price range do you think it will be pegged at for those who may want to apply these international routes using domestic airlines? What is the rough estimate or rough idea you would give to them in terms of what can be paid? And two, do you think that would also increase passenger demand for domestic airlines who may also want to fly international routes? Of course, it's only Airpeace that we have, but we want to look at it futuristically.
Yeah, you see, for the domestic flight, there are some rules that apply. Your time of purchase of ticket, the type of ticket the time you want to travel, all this help in determining a good fare for you. If you buy your ticket a month ahead of a travel date, you're going to get a good fare. But if you're going to walk into the counter or a day before or 3 days before, then you're going to buy one of those crazy fares. So travel needs planning, and when you plan, you get a better fare. Again, when you're choosing your date and time of travel and time of flight, also help with the fare. But I can tell you, I'm in the industry, and I was in Abuja about 2 weeks ago, and I paid close to about 200,000 naira. No ticket. But while I was in Abuja, a friend of mine called me. I said I should help him get a Lagos Abuja ticket, and I saw it for about 130 130,000. So the planning and timing all up, and you know there are systems for everything. If you want to travel out of Abuja on a Friday, you're going to meet a very high fare, but you want to leave Abuja and come back on Sunday to resume work. So timing and arrangement makes your timing, and the time of flight all affect the fare. But you see, we should just endeavor to do the right things. Keep the structures that will make the airlines be able to operate optimally, getting more aircraft. Right now, it's difficult to release more aircraft due to the crazy exchanges. You stabilize that. The airlines are ready. And I think the investors are waiting. Once they see that everything is stable and that it's predictable, then you see investors coming in and we'll have more airlines.
All right. Olumide Omayo, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me.
Away from that, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission will on Thursday, April 4, 2024, arraign Binance Holdings Limited and two of its senior executives, namely Tigran Kambarian and Nadim Anjarwala, who recently escaped from custody and fled Nigeria over an alleged $35.4 million money laundering case. The EFCC had on Thursday, March 28, charged Binance Holdings Limited, Kambarian and Anjarwala with money laundering. The EFCC, which has now fully taken over the case from the Office of the National Security Advisor, has also detained Kambarian and has obtained a court warrant to arrest and extradite Anjarwala. According to a source in the anti-graft agency, Anjarwala will be arraigned in absentia alongside Binance and Kambarian. The Nigerian Communications Commission has directed telecommunication companies to extend the disconnection of telephone lines not linked to the national identification numbers from April 15, 2024 to July 31, 2024. This decision, communicated via a letter to telcos, came after a careful consideration of various challenges and requests for extensions. The disconnection process, which began in February, was rolled out in 3 phases. The first occurred on February 28, 2024, followed by the second phase on Friday, March 29, 2024. During the initial deadline on February 28, 2024, the industry regulator said about 40 million lines not linked to NINs were barred. As the first quarter of 2024 draws to a close, Nigeria faces a daunting security landscape with incidents of kidnappings and attacks on security forces casting a shadow over the Tinubu-led administration's efforts to curb crime and violence. The recent abduction of school children in Kaduna State and the fatal assault on soldiers in Delta State have raised concerns and questions about the government's strategy and capacity to protect its citizens.
The nation reeled from the news of yet another harrowing kidnapping of school children in Kaduna State, a stark reminder of the persistent danger posed by armed groups targeting vulnerable communities.
Under my leadership, no child will be left behind. All of them will come back home by the grace of God, inshallah.
These events, coupled with the ambush and killing of several soldiers by unidentified gunmen in Delta State, has amplified concerns about the effectiveness of the administration's security apparatus. President Bola Tinubu, who campaigned on promises to enhance national security, has faced criticism for the continued prevalence of such high-profile attacks within the first few months of his tenure.
Security and politics. We've brought in, non-state actors into this country.
Most important thing is to implement the revived National Security Strategy 2019. Change the current state-centric approach to security to a human-centered approach.
The citizens' patience is wearing thin as they demand immediate and visible changes. Community leaders and civil society organizations have called for more proactive measures, including the need for collaboration with local stakeholders to strengthen on-the-ground intelligence and preemptive actions against potential threats.
If we honestly investigate this issue, you'll find that it's an issue of attack and counter-attack, attack and reprisal.
What policies, what relationships, what expressions did we not make that has brought this thing on our faces?
We've seen cases where villagers harbor criminals offer them food, give them water, welcome them. It's not helping us in any way. Yet you're not going to inform the police or any security agency.
It's very easy for us to blame people, very, very easy. But when you go through what they've gone through, when they reported incidents, and then those they report to went to the bad guys and said, these are the people who reported it to us. And then the bad guys went back to the village and burned everything and throw everybody away. So why should people want to tell you what they see?
The administration is pledged to prioritize intelligence gathering, bolster the capacity of the armed forces to address the root causes of insecurity.
The dynamic of the security challenges we are facing require corresponding strategies that incorporate a holistic and integrated approach to warfare where synergy among our services is paramount.
We must treat them equally as terrorists.
The pervasive sense of insecurity has also affected economic activities, with businesses and investors being wary of the risk associated with operating in certain regions. This situation has led to further calls for a comprehensive approach that integrates economic development initiatives to address the socio-economic factors contributing to criminality. As the second quarter of the 2024 approaches, Nigerians are looking for concrete progress and a significant downturn in the frequency and severity of security breaches. In Lagos for News Central, Ni Omoni.
Now to political matters. Governor Obasanjo of Kaduna State says he inherited a huge debt burden of $587 million, 85 billion naira and 115 contractual liabilities from the immediate past administration of Nasir El-Rufai. The governor, who disclosed this at a town hall meeting on Saturday while giving account of his stewardship, lamented that the huge debt has eaten deep into the state's federal allocation. He, however, said he remained resolute in steering Kaduna to the path of progress using the available lean resources. The governor also touched on the key priority areas of his administration, including security, housing, education, healthcare, and support for micro, small, and medium enterprises. And I'll tell you that the Rivers State House of Assembly has accused Governor Siminalayi Fubara of dishonesty, threatening to resume impeachment proceedings against him if he continues to breach the Constitution. Martin Amewule, the Speaker of the House, made this known on Saturday during a press briefing in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Amewule, who was accompanied by 26 members of the Assembly, read out a communique issued after the briefing. The lawmakers accused the governor of refusing to hold up to his end of the presidential peace accord, which he willfully signed without coercion. The wrangling rocking the Labour Party in Enugu State has assumed a dangerous dimension following alleged plans by more elected members of the party to defect to other parties. The Labour Party took everybody by surprise when it won majority of the House of Representatives seats in Enugu and 2 out of the 3 senatorial seats in the state during the 2023 general elections. The party also won majority of the seats in the State House of Assembly, a development that forced many to believe that it would be a party to beat in future elections. But investigations reveal that the party is seriously engulfed in internal wrangling over the decision of some of its elected members to defect to other parties. Earlier, Labour Party's deputy governorship candidate in Edo State, Monday Mawa, shared his thoughts on the news.
Leadership prowess that our members that have been elected to the houses of assembly, especially from our presidential candidate, they are not getting it. That is in person of His Excellency Peter Obi. It's not provided that needed leadership. And people are now worried as to what is their fate in Labour Party. Now look at the past 2 weeks now, what has engulfed the party. Abure said it's now the owner of the party. The Apapa group are there. NLC came up now. So as we speak today, I can tell you categorically that we are now in what the renowned and prolific writer.
Coming up on the news. Eskom suspends load shedding until further notice. We will bring you details after the short timeout. Just stay with us. The news continues in West Africa, where African economists are seeking alternative external debt restructuring templates to redirect the current debt burdens on the continent to a sustainable level for a smooth recovery and economic growth. They made this call at the end of the three-day International Conference on Africa Debt Crisis in Accra, Ghana. News Central's Adeshawo Dushoga reports.
As the International Conference on Africa Debt Crisis winds up in Accra, Ghana, the takeaways from the speakers here are focused on the alternative external debt restructuring template. And as we know, debt restructuring is necessary to bring debt burdens back to sustainable levels and limit the negative impact of greater debt servicing on what is already a fragile socio-economic environment like we have in African countries.
We've proposed quite a number of different elements. For instance, the issue of the involvement of the multilateral development banks in debt restructuring, the issue of the participation of private creditors in debt restructuring. Both are not really binding.
Debt restructuring is a sovereign decision. Thus, the panel conversation highlights the options available to African countries and set out a number of key recommendations to guide countries and strengthen the continental debt restructuring framework.
Debt relief is essential, and all classes of debt, to the extent that they can actually be included, should be on the table, right, including multilateral debt. Second, innovations that can help African countries to not only improve debt sustainability, but also address their pressing development needs in terms of financing that is necessary for development and also for climate.
When the IMF comes to any individual country and looks at whether or not it can sustain its debt, it does this exercise called a debt sustainability analysis. It looks at GDP growth, looks at exports, and it says how much debt can this country actually carry. But a key part of how much debt it can carry depends on what the IMF is assuming that the government will do with its budget policies.
Economists here agreed on few things, and that's the fact that choices and approaches regarding public debt restructuring are mainly influenced by country-specific factors, which includes the national debt profile, the prevailing macroeconomic conditions, the structure of the domestic economy, and the political and economic considerations of the country in question. In Accra, Ghana, for News Central, Adeshawo Dushoga.
Now, in a welcome relief for South Africans, Eskom, the country's power utility, has announced the suspension of load shedding until further notice. Eskom spokesperson Daphne Mokoena stated this in a press release on Sunday that this decision comes as a result of sustained available generation capacity, ample emergency reserves, and an expected decrease in demand at the start of the upcoming week. This announcement follows Eskom's declaration on Friday regarding the suspension of blackouts, signaling a temporary reprieve for citizens across the nation. Mokoena assured the public that Eskom will continue to monitor the situation closely, promising to provide a system update on Wednesday and promptly communicate any significant developments. As of the latest figures provided by Mokoena, unplanned unavailability of power generation stands at 13,579 megawatts, while planned maintenance activities account for 7,046 megawatts of generating capacity. However, there is hope on the horizon as a total of 3,550 megawatts are scheduled to be back in service by Tuesday evening. Pope Francis on Sunday gave Easter Mass with tens of thousands of Catholics at St. Peter's Square in Vatican City before his traditional blessing, as concerns persist over his health. The 87-year-old arrived in a wheelchair to preside over the Mass from 10 a.m. in a cloudy and windy weather, with the event broadcast live around the globe. France will pronounce the Urbi et Orbi blessing at midday. where it is expected to bring up the international conflicts raging worldwide. Protesters calling for a hostage deal and for elections gathered in front of the Israeli Defense Ministry in Tel Aviv during a rally. Some of the protesters blocking the highway were met by a police water cannon.
We come to protest here today, like we do every week, against this government, who is a legal government but is an illegitimate government. This government, after last year trying to pass a judicial overhaul and thus making us weak from within, neglecting the Israeli public on October 7th, and from October 8th on, still not helping, still not recovering, still not, still neglecting the people. So we are saying this government cannot continue. This government cannot be the one who will fix things. This government has to go right now, and we need to go to election.
המסר שלי שראש הממשלה איבד את הכיוון, הוא לא עוסק בעניין החזרת החטופים, הוא מתעסק בדברים אחרים שלא רלוונטיים למחדל של 7 באוקטובר. אני דורשת שילך הביתה, יניח לנו, ייתן לנו לנהל את המדינה, ושמישהו אחר יחזיר לי את מתן ויחזיר לנו את...
Now, leaders of India Opposition Alliance and thousands of supporters rally at New Delhi's Ramlila Maidan to protest the arrest of Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, one of the key leaders of the opposition bloc. Kejriwal has been incarcerated for over a week in connection with a long-running corruption probe. India's main financial investigation agency, the Enforcement Directorate, has also launched probes into at least 4 other state chief ministers, all their family members, and all the investigations involve political opponents of Modi's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party. Let's talk business now. The Central Bank of Nigeria will rigorously oversee the banking sector's recapitalization to thwart illicit funds. Haruna Mustafa, Director of the Financial Policy and Regulation Department at the CBN, outlined this in a circular to various banks, including proposed ones. The directive aims to enforce new minimum capital requirements. The CBN, in conjunction with law enforcement agencies, seeks to guarantee that funds raised during recapitalization are clean and devoid of illegal origins. This concerted effort underscores the commitment to maintain integrity and transparency in Nigeria's banking system amid the recapitalization process. Also, Nigeria boasts over 246 oil-producing fields and 188 production stations and platforms. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission underscores the sector's growth, highlighting additional facilities like gas, terminals, FPSOs, and FSOs. Recent data also reveals a marginal uptick in functional oil drilling rigs, reaching 16 in February, signaling continued advancements in Nigeria's oil outputs and installations. These developments align with the nation's efforts to bolster production and fortify energy security, as detailed in the March 2024 monthly oil market report by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. In sports, Green Berets Football Club and Gallant Queens Football Club have emerged champions of the 2024 Kaduna State Football Association FA Cup in the men and women's category. Both teams are owned and sponsored by the Nigerian Army. Green Berets defeated Simueben Football Academy 2-0 in the men's final, while Gallant Queens humbled Kada Queens 6-0 in the women's final played at the Ahmadu Bello Stadium on Saturday. The acting director of physical training Army, Brigadier General Abdurrahim Bello, expressed delight with his side's victory, adding that the clubs would represent the state creditably at the National Federation Cup. Brigadier General Bello also dedicated the trophies to the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, for his support in financing the teams. Danielle Collins, an American tennis player, clinched her inaugural WTA 1000 title. And that's all at this hour. Do stay with us as we bring you some of the major stories before we go. Christians in Nigeria celebrate Easter amidst the country's harsh economic condition. International affairs deep as foreign airlines unlock budget-friendly tickets in Nigeria. We also told you that South Africa's power utility, Eskom, has suspended load shedding until further notice. You can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. While you do that, follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.